I'm here with Dr. Touyz today, and Dr. Touyz will be receiving the Excellence Award in Hypertension Research. And this award is the highest award given by the Council of Hypertension. So, Rhian, congratulations. And tomorrow you'll be given a lecture on your outstanding research. In addition, we'll be recognizing you with the award at our awards banquet tomorrow evening. So could you tell us a little bit about what you could be speaking about during your lecture?
Sure, Joey. Firstly, let me say how absolutely delighted I am to be the recipient of the 2019 Award of Research Excellence in Hypertension from this council. It means a lot to me knowing who's been previous recipients, and also I feel very honored and very humbled to be the recipient of this award. I have spent my professional career studying the mechanisms of hypertension, and in particular I'm interested in the molecular mechanisms of hypertension and related especially to the vascular changes that occur during the development of hypertension. For many years we've been studying signal transduction, looking at various potential signaling pathways that become aberrant with respect to vascular changes in hypertension. And I started my research many years ago looking initially at the role of cations in the regulation of vascular smooth muscle cell function. In the 1970s, 1980s, changes in intracellular calcium and sodium were implicated as being very important in the regulation of vascular function. And then I started to look at another cation called magnesium, which for various reasons has actually been considered a neglected ion. But what we didn't know about magnesium were the mechanisms that actually regulated vascular intracellular magnesium levels. And over the past few years, we and many other labs have focused on understanding the cation channels, particularly the transient receptor potential myostatin 6 and 7 cation channels that regulate magnesium. So I'll be talking a little bit about the contributions that we have made in terms of magnesium homeostasis and the role of TRPM7 in vascular pathobiology in hypertension. Now we know that there are many different signaling pathways that regulate vascular function, and something that's been quite interesting is that many of the signaling molecules, whether they regulate contraction, dilation, MAP kinases and cell growth, are regulated in large part by changes in the redox milieu of vascular cells. And so a large part of my research has focused on understanding the oxidative changes that regulate signaling vascular function, with a particular interest on the NADPH oxidases that generate reactive oxygen species.
Well, Rhian, in addition to your outstanding research contributions, you've been an outstanding mentor to many graduate students. I think you trained over 60 graduate students, and I think you also play an important role model for clinician scientists. Do you have any advice to our aspiring clinician scientists within the Council of Hypertension?
Yes, I feel very privileged to be a clinician scientist, where I can go from the clinic looking at or consulting with patients who have real problems with respect to their health, and particularly in my field with respect to hypertension, and then being able to go from the clinic and ask questions that I have observed or generated from the clinic to the bench. For me, this is an absolute privilege and an honor to go from the clinic to the bench, and it's been a tremendously rewarding career for me personally to understand very fundamental mechanisms of disease and then try and understand them in the clinical context. So a lot of my research, I guess, is actually what we call reverse translational research, because a lot of my research has been from observations in the clinic and then going to the bench and dissecting out some potential mechanisms that hopefully we'll take back to the patient in a translational way. As I said, being a clinician scientist is a privilege. And I would absolutely encourage any clinician who has any interest in discovery science, in wanting to understand more about pathophysiology and mechanisms, to not be afraid and to ask those questions by delving into some of the fundamental science. It's not easy being a clinician and a scientist, and one's got to manage one's time very carefully. But I think today, with a tremendous emphasis on clinical research, on clinician scientists, and especially as we move forward to wanting to apply preclinical discoveries to the clinic, we need clinician scientists. And if you are passionate about what you do and you enjoy asking questions, then going for both the clinical and the basic science is the perfect combination.
Well, I'd like to close by, again, congratulating you again for being the 2019 Excellence Award in Hypertension Research awardee. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Joey.